Daniel Reeves stood at the edge of the construction site, his eyes scanning the skeleton of what would soon be his magnum opus, a sustainable, state of the art community center that would redefine urban living. At 35, he was already making waves in the architectural world, known for his innovative designs that seamlessly blended form and function with environmental consciousness. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the site, highlighting the graceful curves and bold lines of the emerging structure. Daniel felt a familiar surge of pride and excitement as he envisioned the finished building, a beacon of hope and progress for the community it would serve. As he stood there, lost in thought, his phone buzzed in his pocket. A smile touched his lips as he saw the caller ID Sarah, his wife of 10 years, the woman who had been by his side through every triumph and setback. Hey, beautiful, he answered, his voice softening. I'm just wrapping up here. Want me to pick up dinner on the way home? Sarah's laugh, warm and familiar, came through the line. Actually, I've got a surprise for you. Just come straight home, okay? Daniel's curiosity was piqued. It had been a while since they'd had time for surprises. Both of their careers had been demanding lately, with Sarah's environmental law practice taking off and his own projects growing in scale and complexity. As he drove home, Daniel reflected on their journey together. They had met in college. He, the quiet architecture student always sketching in the corner of the campus coffee shop. She, the passionate pre law student who literally stumbled into his life, spilling her latte all over his latest drawings. He remembered that day vividly. It was a chilly October afternoon, and Daniel had been working on a design for his midterm project, a sustainable student housing complex. He was so engrossed in his work that he didn't notice the whirlwind of energy that was Sarah until it was too late. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, she had exclaimed, frantically trying to mop up the spilled coffee with a handful of napkins. I'm such a klutz sometimes. Daniel had looked up, ready to be annoyed, but the words died on his lips as he met her eyes, a vibrant green that seemed to sparkle with life and humor. Her long chestnut hair was slightly disheveled, and her cheeks were flushed with embarrassment. In that moment, Daniel thought she was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. It's okay, he had managed to say, helping her clean up the mess. No real harm done. The coffee adds a certain artistic flair to the design. Sarah had laughed then, a sound that would become Daniel's favorite in the world. Well, in that case, maybe I should spill coffee on all your drawings. Could be the start of a whole new architectural movement. They had spent the next hour talking, Sarah insisting on buying Daniel a new coffee and listening with genuine interest as he explained his project. Daniel, usually reserved and focused solely on his work, found himself opening up to this vivacious stranger, captivated by her quick wit and passionate views on environmental law. It had been love at first sight, at least for Daniel. Sarah took a bit more convincing, but once she saw the depth of his passion for creating spaces that could change lives, she was smitten. Their relationship blossomed quickly, built on a foundation of shared values, mutual respect, and an undeniable chemistry. Their college years were a whirlwind of late night study sessions, passionate debates about architecture and law, and stolen moments of romance between classes and internships. Daniel supported Sarah through the grueling process of applying to law schools, and she was his biggest cheerleader as he submitted his designs to competitions and potential employers. After graduation, they faced their first real test as a couple. Sarah had been accepted to a prestigious law school on the East Coast, while Daniel had landed a coveted internship with a renowned architectural firm in Chicago. They spent 2 years in a long distance relationship, their love growing stronger despite the miles between them. Those years were challenging, filled with long phone calls, expensive plane tickets, and the constant ache of missing each other. But they also solidified their commitment to each other and their shared future. When Sarah finally joined Daniel in Chicago after completing her law degree, it felt like coming home. Their wedding, 3 years after Sarah's move to Chicago, had been a small affair in the botanical gardens where Daniel had proposed. It was a crisp spring day, the air filled with the scent of blooming flowers and new beginnings. Sarah, radiant in a simple white dress, had taken his breath away as she walked down the aisle. Their vows, written by themselves, had been promises not just of love, but of partnership, support, and unwavering commitment. Daniel, Sarah had said, her voice trembling slightly with emotion, "You are the foundation upon which I want to build my life. Your strength gives me courage. Your vision inspires me to dream bigger. And your love makes me want to be the best version of myself. I promise to stand by you through every storm, to celebrate every triumph, and to love you with every fiber of my being." Daniel had struggled to keep his composure as he responded, "Sarah, you are the blueprint of my heart, the design of my soul. Your passion ignites my creativity, your kindness humbles me, and your love is the home I've always dreamed of. I vow to build our life together with care and dedication, to create a space where our love can grow and flourish, and to be your partner in all things, for all time." As Daniel pulled into the driveway of their craftsman style home, a fixer upper they had lovingly restored together, he felt a surge of gratitude for the life they had built. The house itself was a testament to their partnership, every room holding memories of late nights spent painting walls, weekends dedicated to laying new hardwood floors, and countless discussions about color schemes and furniture placement. He paused for a moment before entering, taking in the sight of their home. The warm glow of lights from within beckoned him, promising comfort and love. Little did he know, the foundation of that life was about to be shaken to its core. Chapter 2. Cracks in the Design. The house was filled with the aroma of Sarah's famous lasagna when Daniel walked in. Soft jazz played in the background, and candles flickered on the dining room table. Sarah emerged from the kitchen, a vision in a red dress Daniel hadn't seen in years. "What's all this?" Daniel asked, pleasantly surprised. Sarah's smile was radiant as she handed him a glass of wine. "I realized we've both been so busy lately. We haven't had a chance to just be us. I thought we could use a night to reconnect." As they sat down to dinner, Daniel felt a warmth spreading through his chest. This was why he had fallen in love with Sarah, her thoughtfulness, her ability to ground him when he got too caught up in his work. They talked and laughed, reminiscing about their college days and early years of marriage. Sarah regaled Daniel with stories from her latest case, her eyes shining with passion as she described the intricacies of environmental law. Daniel, in turn, shared his excitement about the community center project, sketching out ideas on a napkin as he explained his vision. But as the night wore on, Daniel noticed something in Sarah's eyes, a flicker of what? Guilt? Uncertainty? He brushed it off, attributing it to the wine and the lateness of the hour. It wasn't until later, as they lay in bed, that Sarah turned to him with a serious expression. "Daniel," she said softly, "do you ever feel like something's missing?" Daniel propped himself up on one elbow, studying her face in the dim light. "What do you mean?" Sarah sighed, her gaze fixed on the ceiling. "I don't know. It's just, we've been so focused on our careers, on building this life. Sometimes I wonder if we've lost sight of who we are, of what we wanted when we first got married." Daniel felt a knot forming in his stomach. "Sarah, if something's bothering you, you can tell me. You know that, right?" She turned to him then, a sad smile on her lips. "I know. I just, I need some time to figure things out, to remember who I am outside of being a lawyer, outside of being your wife." Daniel nodded, trying to ignore the growing sense of unease in his chest. "Whatever you need, I'm here for you. We'll figure it out together." But as Sarah drifted off to sleep, Daniel lay awake, staring at the shadows on the ceiling. For the first time in their marriage, he felt a distance between them, a small crack in the foundation they had built together.
The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity for both of them. Sarah threw herself into a high-profile case at work, often coming home late and exhausted. The case involved a large corporation accused of dumping toxic waste into a local river, and Sarah was determined to hold them accountable. Daniel, for his part, focused on his community center project, pouring his energy into creating a space that would bring people together. The project was ambitious, a multi-use facility that would house a library, community gardens, a health clinic, and spaces for local artists to showcase their work. It was the kind of project that could define his career, and Daniel was determined to make it perfect. Despite their busy schedules, Daniel made an effort to create moments of connection with Sarah. He would leave little notes in her briefcase, reminding her of his love and support. On the rare evenings when they were both home, he would cook her favorite meals or suggest they take a walk in the nearby park. But something had shifted between them. The easy intimacy they had always shared felt forced. Their conversations stilted. Sarah seemed distracted, often checking her phone or lost in thought. When Daniel asked if everything was okay, she would smile and assure him that she was just stressed about work. One evening, as they sat on the porch swing Daniel had built for their 5th anniversary, Sarah turned to him with a serious expression. "Daniel, I've been thinking, maybe we should take a vacation. Just the two of us, somewhere far away from work and responsibilities." Daniel's heart leapt at the suggestion. "That sounds perfect. Where were you thinking?" Sarah's eyes lit up as she described a small coastal town in Italy she had read about. "It's supposed to be beautiful, quiet beaches, amazing food, and hardly any tourists. We could rent a little villa, explore the countryside." As Sarah talked, Daniel felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe this was what they needed, a chance to reconnect, to remember why they had fallen in love in the first place. He listened intently, already making mental notes about when they could take time off work and what they would need to arrange. But as the weeks passed, the vacation remained just a topic of conversation. Sarah's case became more demanding, requiring late nights at the office and working weekends. Daniel's project entered a critical phase, with construction delays and budget issues requiring his constant attention. The distance between them grew, a chasm widening so slowly that Daniel hardly noticed it at first. It was the little things. Sarah no longer calling during her lunch break, the way she would tense slightly when he touched her, the forced smile that didn't quite reach her eyes when he tried to make plans for the weekend. Daniel tried to bridge the gap, suggesting they attend couples therapy or take a weekend getaway closer to home. But Sarah always had a reason why it wasn't the right time. She was too busy with work. She was too tired. Maybe next month, when things calmed down. It was on a rainy Tuesday afternoon that Daniel's world began to unravel. He had stopped by Sarah's office to surprise her with lunch, hoping to steal a few moments of connection in the midst of their hectic lives. As he approached her office, he saw her assistant, Lisa, at the front desk. "Hi, Lisa," Daniel said with a smile. "Is Sarah in? I thought I'd surprise her with lunch." Lisa looked uncomfortable, her eyes darting towards Sarah's office. Oh, she's in a meeting with a client right now. I'm not sure how long it will take. Daniel nodded, trying to hide his disappointment. No problem. I can wait. I'll just sit over here, if that's okay. As he turned to take a seat in the waiting area, he caught a glimpse through the glass walls of Sarah's office. She was indeed with someone, a tall, handsome man who was standing far too close for a professional interaction. Daniel watched, frozen in place, as the man tucked a strand of hair behind Sarah's ear, his hand lingering on her cheek. The intimate gesture sent a jolt of pain through Daniel's heart. Sarah's laugh, bright and carefree in a way he hadn't heard in months, echoed in his ears. He left without making his presence known, the uneaten lunch heavy in his hands. That night, when Sarah came home late again, Daniel said nothing. But the seed of doubt had been planted, and it would soon grow into something that would change their lives forever. Chapter 3. The Other Man. The days following Daniel's visit to Sarah's office were a blur of conflicting emotions. He wanted desperately to believe that what he had seen was innocent, that there was a logical explanation for the intimate moment he had witnessed, but the nagging doubt in his mind wouldn't let him rest. He found himself watching Sarah more closely, noting every phone call she took in another room, every late night at the office, every distracted moment when she thought he wasn't looking. The woman he had known and loved for over a decade suddenly seemed like a stranger. Sarah, for her part, seemed oblivious to Daniel's inner turmoil. She continued her routine of long hours at work and distracted conversations at home. If she noticed Daniel's increased attention or the tension in his shoulders, she didn't mention it. It was on a Friday evening, 2 weeks after the incident at Sarah's office, that Daniel found what he had been both dreading and expecting. Sarah was in the shower, and her phone, left on the kitchen counter, buzzed with an incoming message. Daniel, his heart pounding, glanced at the screen. A text message from someone named Mark popped up. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Same place, same time. I miss you. Daniel felt as if the ground had disappeared beneath his feet. He stumbled to the bathroom, barely making it to the toilet before emptying the contents of his stomach. When Sarah found him there, pale and shaking, he brushed it off as food poisoning. That night, as Sarah slept peacefully beside him, Daniel lay awake, his mind racing. Who was Mark? How long had this been going on? And most painfully, why? What had he done wrong? What had been missing in their marriage that Sarah had sought comfort in the arms of another man? As the first light of dawn crept through the windows, Daniel made a decision. He would not confront Sarah, not yet. First, he needed to know everything, and so began his descent into a world of private investigators, hidden cameras, and late-night stakeouts. The next few weeks were a nightmare of suspicion and discovery. Daniel hired a private investigator, a discreet man named Frank, who came highly recommended. Frank provided Daniel with photos of Sarah meeting a tall, well-dressed man at various locations around the city, cafes, parks, and most damning of all, a boutique hotel downtown. Each new piece of evidence was like a dagger to Daniel's heart. The woman in these photos was a stranger to him, laughing, touching, kissing this man with a passion Daniel hadn't seen from her in years. He pored over the photos and reports, trying to understand how they had come to this point. One evening, as Daniel sat in his home office, surrounded by the evidence of Sarah's betrayal, he found himself reflecting on their journey together. He thought about the bright-eyed college students they had once been, full of dreams and passion. He remembered the struggles of their long-distance relationship, the joy of their wedding day, the pride they had felt when buying their first home together. Where had it all gone? As the days turned into weeks, Daniel found himself consumed by the investigation. He spent long hours poring over the evidence Frank provided, each new piece a fresh wound to his heart. Photos of Sarah and Mark together, emails filled with affectionate messages, receipts from hotels and restaurants where they had met in secret. Daniel couldn't help but wonder how long this had been going on. Had Sarah been lying to him all along? Had she ever truly loved him? Or was their marriage just a convenient arrangement? Despite the pain, Daniel felt a sense of determination growing within him. He would not confront Sarah yet. He needed to know everything. And so, he continued his investigation, gathering every detail, every shred of evidence. Frank, the private investigator, became a silent partner in Daniel's quest for truth. He was a man in his late 50s, with a gruff demeanor and a keen eye for detail. Frank had seen it all: the affairs, the betrayals, the broken marriages. But there was something about Daniel's story that struck a chord with him. "I'm sorry, Daniel," Frank said one evening as they sat in his office, a small room filled with files and surveillance equipment. "No one deserves to go through this." Daniel nodded, his eyes fixed on the photos spread out before him. "I just want to know why. What did I do wrong?" Frank sighed, his expression sympathetic. "It's rarely about what you did wrong, Daniel. Sometimes people just drift apart, or sometimes they find something they think is missing in their lives." Daniel's thoughts turned to Sarah as he left Frank's office that evening. What had she found in Mark that she couldn't find in him? Was it passion? Excitement? Or was it something deeper? As he walked home, the city lights seemed to blur around him. He felt lost, unsure of how to move forward, but he knew he couldn't stay in limbo forever. Chapter 5. The affair unveiled, the evidence mounted, and with it, Daniel's resolve. He would confront Sarah, but not yet. First, he needed to prepare himself for what was to come. He began by taking care of the practical aspects. He met with lawyers, discussing the possibility of divorce and how to protect his assets. He transferred ownership of their home into his name, using a loophole in their prenuptial agreement that Sarah had never bothered to read carefully. As he worked on his plan, Daniel couldn't help but think about the future. What would happen to their friends and family? How would they react to the news of their divorce? The thought of telling their parents was particularly daunting. Daniel's parents had always adored Sarah, and he knew they would be heartbroken, but he couldn't avoid it forever. One evening, as he sat in his office, Daniel decided to call his parents. He took a deep breath and dialed their number, his heart racing with anticipation. "Mom, Dad, I need to talk to you about something," he began, his voice shaking slightly. His mother's voice was warm and concerned. "Daniel, what's wrong?" Daniel took another deep breath before plunging into the story. He told them about Sarah's affair, about the evidence he had gathered, and about his decision to divorce her. The line was silent for a moment before his father spoke up. "Daniel, we're here for you. Whatever you need, we'll support you." Daniel felt a lump form in his throat. "Thanks, Dad. Just knowing you're here for me means a lot." As he hung up the phone, Daniel felt a sense of relief wash over him. He knew that no matter what happened next, he wasn't alone. Chapter 6. The Confrontation. The night of reckoning arrived on their 11th wedding anniversary. Daniel had planned an elaborate dinner at home, complete with Sarah's favorite dishes and their best wine. The dining room was lit with candles, soft music playing in the background, a perfect recreation of their happiest times together. As they ate, Daniel steered the conversation towards their relationship, their history together. "Do you remember our wedding day?" he asked, his voice carefully neutral. "The vows we made?" Sarah smiled, a flicker of guilt passing across her face. "Of course. It was the happiest day of my life." Daniel nodded, taking a sip of wine. "We promised to love and cherish each other, to be faithful and true." He paused, his eyes meeting Sarah's. "Tell me, Sarah, have you kept that promise?" The color drained from Sarah's face as Daniel presented her with the evidence of her infidelity: photos, messages, hotel receipts. Her world came crashing down as Daniel revealed the extent of his actions: divorce papers filed, joint accounts frozen, the house transferred solely into his name. "Why?" Sarah whispered, tears streaming down her face. "Why didn't you just confront me?" Daniel's voice was calm, but there was steel beneath his words. "Because you didn't just betray our marriage, Sarah. You betrayed my trust, my love, everything we built together. I wanted you to understand the full weight of your actions." As Daniel walked out of the house with his packed bags, leaving Sarah alone with the wreckage of her choices, he felt a strange mix of emotions. Pain, certainly. Anger, without a doubt. But also, unexpectedly, a sense of freedom. Chapter 7. The Aftermath. In the months that followed, Daniel embarked on a journey of self-discovery. He traveled to places he'd always dreamed of seeing: the streets of Paris, the beaches of Bali, the mountains of Peru. He met new people who inspired him, rediscovered old passions he had set aside for his career and marriage. Slowly, Daniel began to heal. He learned to trust again, not just others, but himself. He realized that his worth wasn't tied to Sarah's betrayal, that he was deserving of love and respect. Sarah, meanwhile, was left to face the repercussions of her choices. Her affair with Mark ended quickly. He disappeared from her life as soon as things got complicated, unwilling to deal with the mess he had helped create. She lost the respect of colleagues who had once admired her, and found herself struggling to rebuild her career and reputation. As for Daniel, He eventually found love again, but this time, older and wiser, he approached it with open eyes and an open heart. He had learned the hard way that trust is precious and fragile, and that true love requires not just passion, but commitment, honesty, and respect. In the end, this story serves as a powerful reminder that our actions have consequences and that the choices we make can ripple out to affect every aspect of our lives. It challenges us to consider the true value of loyalty and honesty in our relationships, and to never take for granted the trust and love of those closest to us. Daniel's journey from love to betrayal to healing is a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. It shows that even in our darkest moments, there is hope for a brighter future if we have the courage to seek it and the wisdom to learn from our past. This expanded version delves deeper into the emotional journey of the characters, exploring themes of betrayal, revenge, and redemption in a more detailed and immersive way